10 on Sports Central, we win for a college football game preview and prediction on the 2020 SEC Championship game between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Florida Gators, two teams of which have had great seasons, especially Alabama on their side, as they're 10-0 right now, and definitely looking like the most dominant team in the country, and it's been that way all season long. I mean, Alabama's dominated every team that they've played up until this point. Meanwhile, for Florida, took a loss last week to LSU, but they're still 8-2, and I definitely think this Gator team is still very capable of possibly giving Alabama a fight in this matchup. We'll be going for a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Alabama beat Arkansas previously 52-3. That was just last week. And of course, Arkansas being a team that's been very improved this season. I mean, that was a very good win there for Alabama. I mean, it wasn't even close from the start. 52-3 once again was the final score. Meanwhile, for Florida, they took a really bad loss to LSU, 34-37. Really a shocking loss for Florida, considering the stakes that were in that game. I mean, if you think about it, like for Florida, that was definitely their biggest game of the season up to that point right there, because you're coming into your final game of the regular season as an 8-1 team. You still have a chance to make it to the college football playoff if you beat Alabama in the SEC championship. I mean, Florida, yeah, they really needed that game there, because if they beat Alabama here, now there's still a chance they don't make it into the college football playoff, because I'm not sure the committee would put in a 2-loss team into the college football playoff. It just doesn't seem like it would happen. So for Florida right now, yeah, it's a pretty tough circumstance, but Florida definitely can still make it to a New Year's Six bowl game. That is definitely for sure right now. For the winning streaks, both these teams, Alabama, of course, is the top-ranked team in the nation. They're 10-0 with a 10-game winning streak, and then Florida is now ranked 11th according to the AP poll. They're 8-2 with a 1-game losing streak. This game's going to be on Saturday, December 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern in Atlanta, so that's going to be the location for this matchup here. Spread currently says Alabama by 17.5. ESPN FPI's got Alabama at 89%. Vegas prediction also going with Alabama here pretty convincingly, 46-28 being the final score prediction. So all three sources are going with Alabama here in convincing fashion, which, I mean, it's not much of a surprise to see the spread as a 17-point towards Alabama, considering how dominant the Crimson Tide have been all season long. But, I mean, considering Florida's also been a very good team this season, and they were just ranked as the number 6 team in the nation, it's a little bit surprising to see a team as an underdog as much as Florida is right now. But I still think this game is going to be much closer than what the spread is predicting. I think Florida has got a good chance to put up a big fight here. I mean, Kyle Trask, I hate to say it for the Alabama fans, but Kyle Trask is just as good or even better than Mac Jones. I think Kyle Trask is definitely one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, possibly even a top 2 quarterback along with Trevor Lawrence. I think Kyle Trask is, he's insanely good, and Mac Jones is as well. But if you look at Kyle Trask's stats on the season, he's put up over 3,700 yards, 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and his completion rate is over 70%, which is outstanding for a quarterback. So Kyle Trask coming into this matchup is, he's going to have a big day if Florida's going to get the win here. Here's your stack pressure for this game. Alabama's got 49 points per game, 16 points allowed. That just shows how dominant Alabama's been all season long. 49-16 is an insane points per game to points allowed. But for pass yards per game, they got 347. Rush yards per game, they got 190, so they do have more rush yards per game than Florida does. But for yards allowed, they got 227 passing and then 113 rushing. As for Florida, they got 41 points per game, 26 points allowed. They got 386 pass yards a game, 127 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they got 242 passing and then 142 rushing. So really for both these teams, both teams definitely have their bright spots on their offenses. Definitely for Florida, it's got to be the passing game. They've got Kyle Pitts. They've got a great offense in general. Once again with Kyle Trask. But for Alabama on their side, they've got Najee Harris, which is definitely one of the best, or who is definitely one of the best running backs in the nation. So, that definitely explains why they're around 200 rush yards per game. But both teams are definitely very good on offense, and that's why I think this game could be possibly a very high-scoring one. But I think, honestly, we usually see in championship games more lower-scoring games because the defenses tend to play a little bit better, and the offenses tend to be a little bit different. But I think both teams here definitely are going to put up some decent points in this game. You got two great offenses going head-to-head here. Should make for a great matchup. Previous 5 games for both these teams, Alabama once again beat Arkansas last week, 52-3. They absolutely blew out LSU the week before that, 55-17, which LSU obviously just beat Florida. So that is something you got to note there, because Alabama had a completely different result against LSU in comparison to Florida. But they also blew out Auburn, 22nd ranked team in the nation at that time, 42-13. Also a blowout win over Kentucky, 63-3, and they shut out Mississippi State 41-0. So especially over the past 5 weeks, Alabama's been so good. They've been absolutely destroying pretty much every team that they've been playing. But for Florida, they've been kind of on the decline recently, something that I did notice. If you look at, once again, that LSU loss, but also Tennessee, they kept it within 12 points to a Tennessee team that has been really struggling all season long. I mean, they won the game 31-19, but that was a close game in comparison to a lot of people, including myself, thought. But they also had a somewhat blowout to Kentucky, 34-10, good win there. Blew out Vanderbilt 38-17. They also blew out Arkansas 63-35. The key thing, though, is that they did allow Arkansas to score 35 on them, which is a little bit concerning when you look at this matchup here, is because, I mean, Florida, their defense is going to have to play very, very well if they're going to win this game. So for some key points for this one, Alabama's blown out every team that they've played so far. That's another thing that I'm going to bring up again. I mean, Alabama, like, once again, when you get 10 wins and all 10 wins are blowouts, that just explains how dominant a team is. And for Alabama right now, considering they're in the SEC, I mean, this is a team that is extremely efficient, extremely consistent. That's going to be a really tough thing to overcome if you're Florida here. But Florida, being on a loss of momentum, this is kind of a bad time to have to play the best team in the nation by far. I mean, Florida is kind of a team that's had a weird season. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they were okay. But in the middle of the season, when they were in late October, maybe into mid-November, this team was very, very good. I mean, they blew out Georgia at one point. Yeah, Florida was looking very good at one point, but they've been kind of on the decline over the past few weeks, and they definitely need to have a huge game here if they're going to be able to get a win, because, I mean, the momentum right now is not on Florida's side. But Kyle Trask, he's going to need to have a career day, I think, if the Gators get the win here, because, I mean, Florida, like Kyle Pitts, he was gone for the LSU game. It's just a matter of whether or not he's back for this game, because he's got a huge impact on this team. Like, Kyle Pitts has been an outstanding tight end, possibly the best in the nation. So if he's back for this matchup, that's going to be huge for Florida. But, I mean, how each team would win in this situation, if Florida can keep it close, I think, from the start, if they can stay efficient, if they can stay up with Alabama here, I think that Florida does have a chance to get a win here. However, for Alabama on their side, if Alabama starts off fast, they get up maybe 14 points within the first 7 or 8 minutes, I think Alabama's going to have this game sealed. I think Alabama is definitely the more dominant team as far as it goes offensively. And if this Alabama team shuts down Florida early, that can be a pretty terrible situation for the Gators, because that's kind of been something that I've noticed out of Alabama. I mean, this is a team that starts out very fast, and they get off to a very fast start. And this is a Florida team on the other side that kind of does a little bit of the opposite. I mean, they start a little bit slower, but they cannot do that in this matchup. They cannot start slow, or else this game's going to be over after the first quarter. So for Florida, once again, you got to keep it close. Kyle Trask is going to have to play very well. The defense is going to have to play very well. You got to put some pressure on Mac Jones for sure. But in the end, I think Florida's a great team. Don't get me wrong. I think Kyle Trask is definitely a top 3 quarterback in the nation. But I just don't see Florida winning this game. I think Alabama, they're just too dominant of a team right now. I think Florida keeps it close. This will be the closest game that Alabama will probably have all season. But the Crimson Tide are just too good of a team. They are too dominant. They've blown out every opponent up to this point. They're just too good of a team right now. Mac Jones is on fire. I got to go with Alabama here. They're definitely the favorite to win another national championship this season, mainly because of how dominant that they have been. But don't get me wrong. Once again, Florida is a great team. And I think this is a team that should still be possibly in contention for a New Year's Six bowl game. But I just don't see them winning this game. I just think, once again, Alabama's too good of a team. They got way too much momentum, and that's what's going to end up defeating Florida at the end. But final score, 30-27. We're going to see Alabama win this one. It's going to be pretty close, I think, in the first half. As you see, I got a 4-point lead for Alabama at the half, 17-13 being the score. But probably it's going to be 75% towards Alabama, so I do have the Crimson Tide winning 3 chances out of 4. So I do think, once again, Crimson Tide get the win, but it will be somewhat close. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on this game. I appreciate you guys all watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on it. Subscribe as well if you're not already yet, as it really helps out the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Once again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll catch you on the next one.